Perfectionism isn't really what you think it is. When you think about perfectionism, the first thing that you're going to think about is, I'm just trying to flesh this out before I actually get to start. Or perfectionism might be, well, you're working on a project and you might think this isn't perfect yet. I'm not ready to submit this. And those might be the two definitions of perfectionism that you think it is. Perfectionism is one of those traits that you think is really, really good, but then you also know on the inside that it's something that you need to fix. If this relates to you, then in this video, I'm going to explain how exactly to fix perfectionism. Actually, how to harness your perfectionism in a way that actually makes sense, in a way that actually lets you build on your goal, reach your perfect, and continue to get better instead of never actually finishing or never actually submitting or being scared of your work not being the most quote-unquote ideal. Before we actually go into this, we have to define why perfectionism actually happens. Perfectionism happens because you have way too many choices. We'll use these two paths. It's going to be one, the most optimal path, and number two, or I guess quote-unquote optimal path, and we're going to use the second one, which is the perfectionist path. These two paths are going to show us what exactly the difference is and how to optimize for the more optimal result rather than the result that leads to us feeding into our perfectionist tendencies. Now, the most optimal path is going to look like this, right? We're going to have point A, we're going to have point B, and we're going to sort of make mistakes along the way. But eventually, we're going to learn and we're going to get to point B. The perfectionist path is going to look like this. We're going to start from point A. We're going to have all of these different branches where we can go off to. And we're going to just keep building each branch little by little to make sure that we don't make the wrong choice. Now, eventually, over time, you might get a little bit tired of it and pick one branch. And now we're going to go forward. And then it might be tighter than this branch. But then you're going to get over here. And then we're going to start building these options again. Then maybe we'll choose this one again. And then maybe over time, we get to where the point B is supposed to be. We don't feel like it's perfect yet because there's still all these other options. So instead of that, we get to a higher standard, which is like point B over here. And then eventually over time, we get here. Do you see anything wrong with this? The problem with this is that if you were to take the perfectionist route, if we look at the time horizon of how long it's going to take, the optimal path is going to get to point B around like here. Perfectionist path is going to get to point B around here. It's not a dramatic difference in time, and it might have even been a tighter trajectory, and they might even have a higher standard. So what's really wrong with this? The problem with this is that when you continue to go down this route, you're going to face a few problems. The first problem is you're going to face a lot of learning debt, because the way the brain works is that when we are taking in information, it's going to come from the outside. Now, when it comes from the outside, all of this information is going to come towards your brain. And that's so ugly. The only way the brain actually registers the information is if you get it wrong. Because what actually happens between the optimal path and the perfectionist path is that over time, if we give it a longer time horizon, imagine this is instead of like a 2-week time period, this is like a 1-year time period. This is the optimal path and this is the perfectionist path. In the short term, the time difference might not look very huge, but when you go to the 1-year time difference, the optimal path is actually going to learn more than the perfectionist path. Just because when we compare the two, the optimal path is actually having this certain like understanding. The perfectionist task is going to work around their understanding of it. The optimal one is going to want to learn as you go. The reason why learning as you go is actually better in this case is because it's just impossible to actually know every single possibility that is in the end point. The optimal path is going to learn along the way. It's going to make all these lessons, and this endpoint is still going to update. The perfectionist, on the other hand, is going to try to use their knowledge to go a certain way. And it might be tighter and it might feel more secure along the way. But this is still going to update as you go. You're still going to learn. But the person that learns along the way is able to update their end goal much faster. They're able to keep updating in a way that by the end of the 1-year goal, they're going to have updated their end goal so many times compared to this perfectionist that just updates when they feel like it's perfect. They're never actually going to have as many iterations or updates or learning experiences as the person on the more optimal path. Now, this is all fine and good, but how do we fix this? We might have gone through why this might be better for learning. It might be better in the long run for the time that you put in and what you get out of it. But it doesn't really address how to fix this, which is the biggest reason because so many of us struggle with perfectionism. And it's such a common tendency that even if you know why you shouldn't do it, you might end up doing it anyways. You fix this by 1, setting a really clear goal. And number 2, by prioritizing your option. And by number 3, just taking action. Let's expand on each one of these points. The first point is setting a clear goal. We don't actually know where the clear goal really is at any point in time. The reason for this is because even though we have these very clear endpoints of where we want to end up, you're not going to know the exact point where you're going to end up at the end of the day. If you could just close your eyes and imagine the exact path of where you're going to go, and how exactly the exact number or the exact goal of where you want it to be. And if you just had the exact thing happen, then you would be a fortune teller. Unfortunately, life doesn't actually happen that way. The whole point of setting a very clear goal and iterating as we go is not the standard idea of, oh, we're just going to set a goal and set that forever. Or as most people have it, we're going to have a certain vague idea of where we want to go and we're just going to go for it. But then the problem from a perfectionist point of view is that if this is unclear, or if this is way too set in stone, or it's just a vague idea of where you want to go, then all of these different options are going to seem like they could be options. Or all of these different options are going to try to predict all of these different options. This approach is no bueno. You set a proper goal by setting an endpoint where you want to be, and then over time, this is going to be an imperfect goal. Instead of setting it out 1 year, you're going to have a vague idea of where you want to be in a year. You're going to know that this is not where we're going to end up. We're going to have a 1 week imperfect goal that we're going to want to get to. We're going to start over here at point A, and maybe this is point C where we ultimately want to get to. We're going to have a point B that we want to reach, and we're going to break this down into some ideas. But instead of having all these different ideas that you could go into, you're just going to choose one, and you're going to know that it's just going to be a learning experience. It's definitely hard to just say this is a learning experience and choose this is the one that you're going to choose. How do we just end up choosing one and choosing this as the one that we're going to use as the learning experience to get to the goal? The framework that you would use in this instance is, this is the one that we're going to choose for now. This idea that you're going to end up choosing, you're going to think about it just enough to know that this idea might get us to point B, our 1 week goal. It might get us there. This one might get us here. This one might get us here. You just choose the one that you think might get you there faster in the short term. If you can't choose, just flip a coin. Whether you choose this one or this one, you're going to get here anyways. We're not going to get to the perfect end goal, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to use the idea that we're going to end up learning from this experience and that it's going to get us here faster. You might think that there might be no point for you to do this or to continue to stick to one path if it's not going to be perfect, if you're going to mess up, if you're going to come back to beginning anyways. But the belief that you're going to come back to the beginning anyways is completely wrong. Because when you make some mistake, all you want is to have a goal that's short enough that either one of these could reach. We're going to utilize our perfectionist tendencies to know that, for example, we want to get consistent at going to the gym. And today, I'm not going to hit the perfect workout. Now, if you don't have a track record of hitting a perfect workout every single time you go, the tendency might be to want to hit the perfect workout the first time you go to the gym. You're going to do all of this research. You're going to find the perfect routine, the perfect diet, the perfect workout schedule for you to get to the gym and do it perfectly. And you might struggle to make this decision because there's all of these different factors that contribute to ultimately getting to the gym. We don't want this. We have the diet part, which is this diet versus this diet versus this diet. We have the workout routine versus this one. What we want to do is not to set the perfect gym routine. What we want to do is, how do we go to the gym? How do we sign up for the gym membership? There is going to be a path that gets you there. The diet is not going to get you better at signing up for the gym membership. The shoes are not going to get you to signing up the gym membership. What will get you signing up for the gym membership is seeing what gym. All the different options might seem really overwhelming, but it's not the perfect gym, because finding the perfect gym is looking at the workout equipment. We haven't looked at the workout equipment yet. We're looking at which gym can we sign up for? And looking at which gym can we sign up for is really just looking at one thing, right? It's distance, price, and what other factors are you looking at? So really, we're setting the micro goal of, okay, I want my gym to be a 10-minute commute, or I want my gym to be under this price. And if they only fit one of these factors, like they're under this price, but it's a 20-minute commute, which one is more important for you? Doesn't have to be perfect now, but what we're trying to achieve is the goal of, we're just trying to get to a certain gym. You're not even consistent at going to the gym yet, so how do you expect yourself to be able to even sign up for a gym membership or choose a gym and not even like be able to break down these steps in order to get to this. And you might think, oh, I'm immune to this. I've already done this. But if you've already done this, then set that goal and then set that second goal. Because the one thing that you can do for your perfectionist tendency is to, one, yes, we want to have a high standard, but set the hard bar within setting your micro goals and not within setting these long-term goals that you haven't even reached yet. Because in this process of doing this, you're going to end up not getting anything done, which means that every single goal that you end up creating, you're just going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel like you're not enough, that you're not able to do any of these things that you set for yourself. It really is just prioritizing and trying to think of taking action now. Because along this way, you're going to reach so many different milestones and you're going to struggle with finding the one thing that you're going to want to focus on, which is, okay, you can focus on the gym. You can focus on the diet, you can focus on your sleep, you can focus on this other work project that you want to do, and you're going to have all of these different things and you're going to get overwhelmed. And you're not going to want to prioritize in your day schedule. You could block out all of these times for certain things, but you could also do all these other things in this time. And you're going to struggle to make a proper decision because there's so many things that you could do. You'd want to pack your schedule and you'd want to make sure everything gets done. Or you're going to end up not doing anything because there's so many different decisions that you can end up making and you're going to get overwhelmed. In this instance, the best thing to do is not to get overwhelmed or to try to make a decision and to just try harder and blame yourself for not having done anything. The best thing to do is take the one thing, to go back to the basics and think about, who am I? If you think of yourself as someone that prioritizes health, then we're going to work on everything related to the gym. That's going to be the very first thing that we're going to put on our schedule, and we're going to set these giant blocks of time to make sure that health is the number one priority. And then we're going to look at number two. But before all that, we have to break things down into health or whichever you think is the biggest priority. Because if you're not scheduling this out, if you're not setting this as the number one priority to think about, to break down, when everything else comes at you, whether that's whatever other hobby that you have or your social life or everything else that could come at you, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to struggle to make a single decision because when you're not focusing on your number one priority, everything else is unclear and you're unable to make one single goal. And we're going to end up going back to the perfectionist tendency of wanting to go in all these different directions, not knowing where to go, and either just end up making all of these paths and getting back to square one, or maybe a little bit above square one. And you feel like you're making progress, but at the end of the day, you're not making any progress and you're not making any progress as fast as you want. Just go out and give it a try because taking action is the only way you're going to do this. And if you don't, then you're going to end up like this one. We want to be here. We don't want to be here.